You're listening to the Begin Within Health Show with Nate Slager. For more, go to beginwithin.fit/podcast, or to enroll right now in our flagship coaching program, go to beginwithin.fit/coaching. Welcome back to the Begin Within Health Show. I want to take a moment to thank you. If you're someone who's not in the habit of listening all the way to the end of the episodes, then you probably often miss my little sign-off of appreciation, which comes directly from my heart. I want to thank you for sharing your time and attention with me and for keeping this podcast in the top 10% of all podcasts on planet Earth. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for following the show, for rating and reviewing, and for sharing the show with those that you care about. I appreciate it so much. Doing those things helps others to find the show and helps us to keep this show where it's ranked in the top 10% of all podcasts. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our guest today is Daniel Andreev. He's the Chief Product Officer for a super interesting company called PsyTech VR. The VR stands for virtual reality. PsyTech, P-S-Y, PsyTech VR. You can get more information about them at PsyTechVR.com. What we're going to be talking about today is how his company is using virtual reality to help therapists treat patients with mental health disorders. Their work is so interesting to me. I absolutely love this conversation. I was so intrigued by it. And while it's super interesting to me to learn how technology of this kind can be applied to the field of mental health, there are definitely some underlying themes in this episode that apply to all of us in our health journey and our mental health journey, because we all have to take actions on a regular basis in order to care for our mental health. So a couple things I want you to listen for. We're going to talk about visualization and imagination. We're also going to talk about this concept that Daniel introduces of a safe place. I want you to listen for those. Here's my interview with Daniel Andreev from PsyTech VR.
So there was a headset which was presented in the early 2020, which is the Meta Quest. First, it was an Oculus Quest 2, and next Meta, Facebook rebranded it to Meta. And the headset is actually very, very accessible. So this headset looks like this. It's a Quest device. It's an absolute national here in the US. I think for the second or for the first Christmas, it's the most popular gift.
Okay.
Yeah. Youngers, between older population. So create this device. But when it was presented, I was thinking this is a revolution, because the VR is here. To try a VR at home about 5-6 years ago, a good VR with a nice quality, it would cost you a couple of $1,000s. But this headset, it's a game changer. Accessible, high graphics with a good resolution, and comfortable. And also, you don't need to have a powerful headset, because before, when people were talking about the VR, you had to have a powerful PC. But now, it's here. No PC, only your phone. So, I was doing the VR. My, I can call him actually almost on Peter. So Peter is doing IT for ages. I think he's in IT right now for 30 years.
Okay.
He was working with different institutions and entities in the US. So Peter is also with the IT and, of course, with the VR. And my mom, she's a clinical psychologist. So she's a CBT therapist trained in the CBT, both in the EMDR as well. But one day, something happened. So in 2020, a client visited Inna, my mom, for the exposure not actually for the exposure, but just for a standard regular consultation. But even I used the exposure therapy, which almost every CBT therapist is using.
Yes.
So
Daniel,
in
can I
about
can I stop you for just a minute? Just a
uh
sec. So CBT, just so our listeners are familiar with that, cognitive
like
behavioral
arrow therapy,
therapy, right?
right?
So could you just explain a little bit about what exposure therapy would be for
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, right. So I'm a I'm an IT guy,
Oh,
but
it's okay. Yeah, yeah.
I'll help. I'll help.
That's why
So
I'm
like
here.
from
I'll stop you if I need to. You're fine.
right. Cognitive behavioral therapy was coined by Dr. Aaron back in late 60s, past century. This is the method or the modality of psychology and psychotherapy, which is officially approved by the World Health Organization. EMDR is the second, CBT is the first. So CBT can be described like when a therapist is working with your cognitions, with your emotions. In many ways, the therapist is changing your irrational thoughts and ideas into rational. So you might have a fear of, let's say, spider, right? So this can be an irrational fear cause you're afraid of the spider gonna bite you, no matter how big or small is the spider. So the therapist is gonna work with your emotions and cognition, helping you change your behavioral, that this is not something that gonna kill you, but this is
Yeah.
more something like, yeah, it's normal to have a fear of big spiders, but at the end of the day, they're not gonna kill you. So this, a long story short, this is how it works. And exposure therapy is actually one of the most popular instruments with CBT therapists use when they are trying to push you to a certain form of imaginal fear you need to get to. So, and this was actually my mom. She was also at this consultation was working with this gentleman. So he had a phobia of heights because he was working in a skyscraper every day, seeing some panorama view of the city. And the problem with him that he was, when he was having a meeting on a high floor, he was always going back, not near the panoramic windows, but rather than by the wall. So he came there. They started the consultation. She helped him with some, breathing techniques to de-stress after a working day. And when she started pushing him to imagine in it, and she was giving him some scripts, hey, like imagine this is the end of the meeting. You need to stand up, you need to walk, but by the wall you see a lot of people. You have to walk from another side. And he was like, it was so hard for him. So he was like trying to imagine this vividly, but nothing really happened. So he was a little bit upset, probably, and he left mid consultation. I don't know who was upset more.
Yeah.
Him or my mom, which has about like 15, 16 years therapy experience by that time. But she went back home. We had a dinner. We started discussing how's the day going. And she mentioned that. She said, like, almost for the first time of my career, this happened.
Okay.
I mean, so we're sitting like and saying, how can we help you? I mean, so every business is just starting growing from a certain problem on the opportunity, and she
Yeah.
really had a product. And because I was working with the VR, Peter was working with the VR, we like
Yeah.
idea. Why don't we ask the patient to imagine it? S- We can like ask them to see it and feel it
Mm,
because
yeah.
scientifically, the VR uses three primary human senses. You can see it. You can also hear it from the dynamics here, and
Mm,
also you can feel it because everything happening in the VR, this is a 360 dimension. In
yeah.
that moment, we have taken a headset, showed you just a standard YouTube video of like a heights staying like by the end of the building. And she said, yeah, this is what we need.
Okay.
That was a problem, not like that was a problem not only of one specialist, but also like a certain like generation of the specialists. And Ina said, we definitely should start digging deeper into this thing, and
Yeah.
we started. So that was an idea, and in 2020 we started talking about this. 21 we registered the company in Florida. 21 we started the development. 22 in the beginning of 23 we got our first clients, and step by step we moving there. So yeah, nowadays we have about 2,500 active users, which are the therapists, their clients, university students. So One
Nice.
day that was an idea. Now we're really helping people. So
Wow.
that-
I could
that's
see how
amazing.
that would yeah, I could see how I mean, it makes a lot of sense how that got started. So, just so that I'm understanding right, so because, a big part of cognitive behavioral therapy is this idea of using some almost like controlled exposure to certain situations to help a patient to kind of push their limits and find out, hey, this is safe, this is okay. And a large part of it, therapists were using trying to use the patient's imagination in order to get them exposed to the if they were afraid of something irrational, to expose them to the irrational fear through their own imagination that had
Mhm.
limits, because obviously the therapist doesn't know exactly what the person's seeing, I would think, and the person in
Exactly.
that case you mentioned, he was frustrated
Mhm.
because he couldn't quite imagine it. So with VR, you can create a situation. I suppose a therapist can help create a scene or a situation where the patient will be able to use that virtual reality to
Mhm.
be exposed in a controlled setting
Mhm.
to something that maybe they were afraid of before. Is that right?
That's the right direction. So how it actually works? So the person is taking a headset, and at the same time, the therapist can spectate and control this environment from the computer or the or the
Okay.
iPad or even the
Okay.
phone. So this is a fully controlled and safe environment. And just, we don't want to say that a VR is a fully substitution to all the things created before. No, it's just a new way how you can better immerse your patients to this irrational fear or the phobia or any issue that we work with. So there is an emotional exposure. Emotional exposure is great because it's safe, but in emotional exposure, there is a lack of a certain, you know, immersive effect.
Yeah.
On the other side, we've got in vivo therapy. If there is a person that is afraid of the elevator or agoraphobia, open spaces, social environments, crowds, the therapist is taking a patient and let's go and try it in real life. But this is dangerous, but it's immersive. And then VR is something which stands in the middle because it's safe and also it's immersive. So we say that this is following all the protocols, and this can work with the CBT, or this can also work with the EMDR, which is right now growing. It's another big topic of discussion, but
Could
we
you
are
yeah.
playing side both to CBT and to the EMDR.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about EMDR
Sure,
and
sure.
what that is?
Eye movement reprocessing and desensitization.
Yes. Okay.
Desensitization, right. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Yep. No, you
So
got it.
EMDR.
Okay.
So you should know that every time you sleep, your eyes, like with while closed, like they're moving a lot of from one
Yeah.
side to so while you're sleeping, you're reprocessing your memory, your negative emotions, and maybe one can just like maybe you can remember that one day you had a very bad mood, you went to bed, and next you like after 6, 7, let's say 8 hours sleep, you just wake up and and you saw that you're feeling good. So your eyes can really help. So like when this happening, both of your parts of the brains they're actively working and reprocessing this negative information. That's why people always say that it's so important to sleep well.
Mhm.
If we're talking about health.
Yes.
So the EMDR was created also by Dr. Shapira. So this is a process. So like sort for saying it again, reprocessing a certain trauma. So a specialist is working with you on like on your negative emotion, doing a certain aim, trying to figure out what was the exact problem. And next they're working with your eyes, like going from one side to another. Of course, there it's a more complicated process,
Mhm.
but the VR can really help it because first of all, we can show the person the certain traumatic experience, but also you should know that EMDR can not only be applied to PTSD, but fears and phobias and some other things. So like we can show the trigger And next, immediately, we can show this movement. But what is most important is that with the virtual reality, we're bringing a certain sense of customization. So, first of all, if you want not like this, if you want have an infinity or sinus, cosinus, or any other type of the movement, moreover, with a VR, we have a component of bilateral stimulation where the person gonna see it, the person gonna hear it. Moreover, the person will feel the vibration in the controllers
Mm,
because with every
okay.
headset you have this. So this is
Yeah.
like a full bilateral stimulation. And again, the VR can really help. But I can tell you one interesting thing about the EMDR. So every therapist is using a certain grounding techniques where they need to help the patient to relax. Someone's using the mindfulness. Someone is helping with the breathing exercises. But for the people which have a trauma, it's scientifically known that for them it's so hard to imagine something. Again, we get a problem with the lack of the imagination.
Hmm.
In PsyTech, we have a lot of different techniques. First of all, you can go to the nature. We have taken a 360 camera, like using just the standard products. We're taking the 360 cameras and we are filming like nature, some other objects where you can have a breathing exercise. Or we have a mindfulness. And also, we created a very, very interesting thing. So, a safe place. Every person must have a safe place just to escape from reality. The problem with the people with trauma, it's so hard for them to imagine. And this is where VR and generative AI can actually help. So we created generative AI, which can help inside and with any patient create a unique safe place. So they go there like a ChatGPT and they enter it. Like I'd like to appear in the green forest. Also, you can be more descriptive and say, see pink flowers and a wonderful sunset. And our AI, within a 20 seconds, gonna paint a unique 360 experience
Wow.
tailored for the patient needs. And this is what our advisors say. The therapy must be tailored for the need of a specific patient. So
Okay.
Gen AI and relaxations, this is our first point. Later this year, we'll get to the Gen AI things connected with the therapy. But
Wow.
again, like people ask, like, how can like a VR help here? There are a lot of ways, starting from the lack of imagination right to more, like more immersive effect. So this is what we mean. But also, just to finalize all the things, the therapist is controlling everything from his or her computer, just
Gotcha.
working with all the options, all the statistics, so the patient can be sent to a certain environment, let's say the phobia of driving, a phobia, and next therapy within a one click and the platform can bring the patient from the driving to breathing to distress
Okay.
and vice versa. So controlled environment by the therapist.
Got it. Wow. That's awesome. So safe place. So just so I'm understanding, I like that concept. That kind of surprised me. And I'm all, and I like I told you before we kind of started the interview, I'm listening for clues as you've kind of decoded this, the way that virtual reality can help people with
Right.
these different therapy
Mhm.
techniques. I'm curious for just myself or
Right.
listeners who they want to maximize their health. Like, what are
Yeah.
some of the concepts that are here? And I think what's interesting to me is the idea of a safe place. That's something that you're making a part of therapy with VR, because that's where people can truly relax enough to
Right.
benefit from the therapy. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So later, I'll share with you some materials. We have a lot of different videos and photos from inside the system. This idea, so you can always be in an exposure and either the therapist from the computer control environment or the patient by clicking a specific B button here or the white. So it's like a panic attack button. You click
Oh,
it,
okay. Nice.
immediately you're in a safe place.
Wow.
But safe place with SciDeck can be used for many different ways. So first of all, I should start that we have a variety of different levels of visualization. So you can choose like it's a realism or it's something, like art, cartoonish, or maybe something like this. And next you have a field where you can choose something. You can type. You'll click on it and you can type, "Oh, I would appear in the." Oh, interesting. I was actually on a call with one therapist, and he said, like, my safe place is a mountain trail with ships. He it was something which was created by the AI. I was so amazed. I never tried it. I tried actually a lot, but that was something new for me. It really
Oh,
helped. And with this, we're providing the person the ability to choose sounds because you can have a picture, which is a pretty good, but also you can choose sounds. And we have a library of a variety of different sounds, binaural beats, things which can help you really de-stress, relax, different mindfulness things. We have different sounds which you can choose. And next you can spend some time there. So even after coming from the work, you can have a device with you. You can try it on your own, as well as some other relaxations which we have.
wow. That sounds awesome. We had one of the Meta Quest, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Right. So nowadays it's 250. It was actually 450 about 2, 3 years ago.
Okay.
They dropped the price.
Yeah, but
It's
we had
more
one
accessible
at
than a
home.
phone.
Yeah. I thought, my thought was like, "Oh, it's cool," but I only thought of it in terms of, like, playing video games, and I was kinda like, I've never
Yeah.
been much of a gamer, so I thought it was fun and it was cool, but I even to hear you talk about relaxation and making use of it that way, like, for me, I'm like, "Man, I think." I don't even know. I think we sold ours, but I was like, "Man, I wanna bring that back now. I wanna get a new one just to, like, go to a safe place after work or whatever," like you said. That's awesome. So, I'm curious, Daniel, I know I wanna kinda wrap up, but could you talk a little bit, just for a minute here, about some of the conditions? I know you mentioned, phobias. I
Right,
think you
right.
mentioned PTSD. Are
Ye
there other
Mhm.
conditions that you found are benefited by virtual reality?
Sure. We are mainly right now focusing on the disorders part. So you're absolutely right. So these are the specific fears and phobias, agoraphobia, social phobias, and in specific phobias that can be a variety of different things, starting from the airplane, the dogs, what else I can see? Lizards, snakes, pigeons, and next a variety of other different things. The social can be represented as the public speaking, or let's say the just the general social anxiety, talking to people, learning and knowing how you should interact with people. Agoraphobia is one of the most, I don't want to say popular, but the most common things. This can be represented as different, like open spaces, crowded spaces, big city objects. Even if you go to the Paris and you're like in front of the Eiffel Tower, if you feel a certain discomfort here,
Okay.
probably. But I don't want to say. So next, of course, the PTSD with its variety of different things. The PTSD can be represented as something like domestic abuse or the war, which we also have some military things, gunshots, transport, and variety of different things. Next, we have different natural disasters and some other things. So the PTSD is also
Wow.
one of the modules. Next, we have OCD. It's
Okay.
something which we recently started working. So the OCD example. So there are a lot of people which are hoarders collecting a variety of different things in their houses. So the training can actually help the therapist and the patient work with it. And VR can really help because in one of the environments in PsyTech, you can appear in the apartment, which is in a complete mess. And what you can do is just you grab a joystick and you start collecting and choosing what you want to do with it. You want to throw
Wow.
it away, want to collect it, or you want to give it. You know, just doing this with imagination, it's hard, but VR can really help. It's a certain gamified space where people feel it like digital learning, immersive learning, and it has a great effect.
Wow.
Other examples can be people which have a fear of different like dirt, bacteria, syringes, used syringes, and stuff like this. So this is OCD with a variety of different things. Next, we have anger.
Hmm.
Anger is very well known to be worked with REPT, with rational emotional behavioral therapy, where they change the thoughts of patients. Like let's say that you're on a work and you're like fired, and here we have a lot of irrational thoughts, but therapists can really help change them. So we're providing some scenarios where you're like driving to the work and you're like in a complete traffic jam and people are beeping and like a lot of things happening. So this is like an immersive scenario where
Oh,
a patient is gonna be triggered, patient gonna feel it, and next the therapist will work.
okay.
Or addictions. We're recently starting working with addictions. Right now, we have a couple of modules, which is alcohol, smoking, cigarettes, food, and gaming for the
Okay.
kids. But,
Wow.
but not only for the kids,
Yeah.
actually. So with addictions, we're showing immersion environments, again, filmed with a 360 camera, just the standard 360 camera. And the purpose of it is just to trigger a certain craving in the addictive patient
Hmm.
to call for their addictive behavior. And next, we're giving the patient certain objects. Like let's say that this is a bar where you're coming and you're sitting in with a 360 camera, you can find yourself like there, and there is a bartender which is coming to you and saying, "Hey, I'm giving you 2 free drinks today." And our addictive patient has to choose whether we would like to do this or not. So we're triggering these cravings.
Wow. Wow.
This is 7. Right now, 7. There is a lot of things to do here.
Yeah.
Generalized anxiety disorder. We can also work with some other things which are, more serious. But we have a lot of requests for the ADHD. We have a lot of requests for working with a patient which has autism. So the
Wow.
VR can help visualize everything. And the
That's
technology here, the VR is very accessible. So this is where we help.
wow. Yeah. As you're talking, I'm like, wow, I can see why that would be so beneficial. It's wow. I love it. Thanks for all your work in this field. What's the best way for someone to get in touch with PsyTech VR or with you and to follow your
Uh,
work or to
yeah,
get involved and benefit from therapy?
right. It's so easy. So if you have a meta quest, just go into the Google and type mental health meta quest. You're gonna find us on the top
Okay.
list. Moreover, this is so easy to find us. PsyTechVR.com. You'll find us there. So for the individuals, we offer a 7-day free trial. For the therapists, we offer a 30-day free trial. We're also bringing PsyTech to universities and colleges for their psychology and psychotherapy departments. They also have a free trial. And enterprises, we also need to take care of the people which are under the stress working in this high high level buildings, and it's hard. They have a lot of anxiety. So anyone can apply for the free trial. No credit card required. We have sales representatives which gonna meet you, provide you with all the technical support, and you can
Nice.
try it. That's
Awesome.
it.
Daniel Andreev, thank you so much for everything you shared and for all your hard work. And we'll make sure there's a link in the show notes for the listeners. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Such a great conversation. I want to thank Daniel for being here with us on the Begin Within Health show. And I want you, if this was super intriguing for you, as it was for me, I want to invite you to go check out their website, PsyTechVR.com. The link is in the show notes waiting for you. And certainly, if you know of a therapist or you are a therapist who finds this technology very attractive and you can see how it's going to really benefit others with mental health, then I really invite you to go check out their site, get in touch with them, and consider how you might apply what they're creating into helping those that you're caring for. Now, for the rest of us, you and me, we're just regular people. What's here for us? I think there are a couple of very powerful things that came out of this conversation that Daniel and I had. Some very, very powerful things, especially around the idea of imagination, right? Remember the reason that virtual reality is being used in the field of mental health. It's what he said was that those who have dealt with PTSD in particular have difficulty using their imagination, which then limits the treatment that a therapist can provide to them because So much of their processes and procedures, their approaches have to do with the patient activating their imagination to put themselves into these different scenarios and rehearse, right? Rehearse that. And this reminded me of a process that we used over and over and over again when I was getting one of my coaching certifications. We used visualizations to deal with stress, to deal with anxiety about future situations, and also to prepare ahead for successful outcomes. We were taught how to lead our clients in that process of just visualizing a scene and then what we call future pacing, right? Looking ahead and preparing for the future. And of course, preparing in a successful way, unlike the way that we typically use our imagination, which is for negative outcomes. We worry, we have anxiety, we get stressed out about things that we are a little bit apprehensive about, or that we're unsure of, or that we can't quite see a successful outcome very clearly. We get anxious. We use our imagination actually to rehearse failure. Daniel and his team are using virtual reality to compensate for some deficiencies that some of us have in using our imagination. Now, whether or not you have great imagination skills or you don't, I would say this. I think for all of us, the lesson is imagination is a powerful skill, a powerful tool that we can implement to help us to be more successful. That's what these therapists know. That's what they're using in their therapies, in their treatment. And that's why virtual reality has become such a powerful tool for them. Now, if that's true for them, then it's true for us that our imagination is a very powerful tool, and being able to access it and to use it in a way that supports success and supports us in dealing with stress and anxiety, I think is something that we need to practice. It's something we can get better at. Probably the message here is that all of us need to sharpen our skills of imagination. Again, using it in a positive way in order to help us to show up the way that we want to show up in whatever situation might be a challenge for us. So here's what I would encourage you to do as an action step from this episode. Practice using your imagination. And just like Daniel said, that I think his words were that everyone needs a safe place, something along those lines. Why not imagine? Why not use your imagination? Sit down, sit down. All I'm asking you to do is sit down and imagine yourself in a calm, safe setting, whatever setting that might be. If it's a natural setting, if it's a place in your home, if it's with loved ones, like whatever it is, with a pet, by a field, by the ocean, by a river, by a stream, under the blue sky, watching the sunset, whatever situation that might be, right? And maybe a way that can help you get going is thinking about what Daniel said about how they can use artificial intelligence to create safe place scenes for those who are using the virtual reality technology that PsyTech VR creates. My question for you is, if you had access to it, what would you tell that program to create for you? What would the place look like? What would you see? What would be around you? What sounds would you hear? My action step for you is just to take a minute, even if it's just 1 minute, just slow down. You can put this on pause right now. Just close your eyes and try to practice using your imagination to put yourself into a scene where you feel safe, a place where you feel relaxed and peaceful. Maybe it's a place you're familiar with. Maybe it's something that you just, create completely on your own. Maybe it's a future situation that you're looking forward to. But what a powerful exercise. Maybe one of the best exercises that we can do. We're here on the Begin Within Health show. We talk about working out and exercise from time to time. Of course, we understand that that's part of good health. But what if the exercise that is most important for you to do right now isn't a push-up or a squat, but it's sitting down and getting better at using your imagination? Not to rehearse failure, not to rehearse anxiety, or to replay situations in the past that caused those feelings, but rather to use your imagination in a positive way to empower yourself for success. Imagining a situation that you're a bit unsure of, but imagining a successful outcome and learning what you can ahead of time as you rehearse it in a positive way, so that when you show up into that situation, you are ready to go, ready to succeed. And whatever that might be, maybe it's a health challenge, maybe it's a situation that you deal with that is challenging when it comes to food, when it comes to getting out of bed in the morning. Whatever it is, we can use our imagination to empower us to move forward in the direction that we really want to go, in the direction that the person that we want to be is already going. So my action step for you is just practice. Even if you just take 1 minute to practice using your imagination in a positive way, you're going to benefit from the lesson, from this, what this company has harnessed, right? PsyTech VR, what they've harnessed. We can unleash it. We can unlock it. That power is available to us when we get good at using our imagination. So just practice. Even if it's just for a minute, you're going to be better because you did it. And perhaps you are going to find something that you can use over and over and over again as you get good at that powerful skill of using your imagination. Thanks so much again for your attention here with me. I appreciate you so very much. There are some links in the show notes for Daniel's company and also some other resources that I have put together for you. Check them out if you could use some more support, accountability, and guidance in your health journey. Have a great day. I will talk with you again soon.